test this. Let's test this. Yep, okay. I wish there was a way for me to do this every time, but that's fine. Alright, so we are live. Send the link. Alright, so this is for our boy Chris. Cruddier Pond 53. There you go. Okay, so let's gonna review a couple of things. You've been making really good progress lately. Yeah, just want to direct your attention to a couple of things as we're doing the review. There's one right here. Let me grab this one. No, not that one. I lied. That shaded one. There you go. Okay. Don't worry about my screen. It should be visible momentarily. There you go. Okay. So yeah, working on the shading of this one. Really good work. A couple of small things that I want to direct your attention to. Just really minor things that once you start noticing, it'll kind of stay with you. Okay. So first thing is right here, the lid area. You have that going all the way back. Okay. But over here, you'll notice that the lid area is more like here, and then it just starts fading away. The reason for that is that this is the frontal bone, also known as the forehead part of the skull, right? And right back here we have our temple area, right? And the reason that's important is because the frontal bone faces, you guessed it, front, right? And this is where the head kind of has an angle change, right? And kind of gets that side view on that temple, right? So this is just a small nitpick that you kind of want to be mindful of and remember. So this would have been the darker kind of gray, right? Another super tiny nitpick that I want you to notice is that there's a darker shadow over here, right? It's not really that important that you didn't capture it here. I just want you to kind of be aware of the anatomical forms and what causes that, right? Because this spot right here dips a little bit deeper because she has her rib cage right here, okay? And, you know, that's kind of the costal cartilage, kind of the end of that rib cage. And over here, you're going to have your, she's going to have her abs, right? The rectus abdominis muscle. And over here we're going into, this is going to be the obliques, right? And the obliques are going to go over there. The abs are going to do this kind of thing, you know, go over there. And then you have your rib cage, and you're going to have your, serratus muscles. And over here on top of this, you have your lats, right? You have your teres major going up there and everything, but over here, this is going to be the chest area, but over here, you're going to have your serratus muscles, right? And they're going to be doing this thing. But the idea is that right here in this area, there's a little bit of a gap. There's a sheet of muscle there, there's the obliques, there's everything, but there aren't primary forms that push out, and that's why it dips in a little bit, right? It's just a tiny nitpick that really you notice those things the more you study anatomy, so I'm just kind of making you aware of it, right? It's an interesting area where you have your rib cage kind of coming up, and you're going to have your abs kind of going up, and this little dip over there. It's kind of like it's not an important form, but I like to note it, right? Okay. Moving on to the next. This is not actually the next one. This is a previous one that he did that I really enjoyed. There you are. This is going to be your very first anatomical drawing. So we're just going to take a look over here, and we're going to just kind of review that, okay? So again, for somebody who hasn't studied anatomy before, and you're just comparing it to the chart, really good work. So let's kind of refine this a little bit, okay? Over here you have the trapezius, right? It's wrapping and connecting to the clavicle over here, but really just wrapping behind and going behind the neck. That's really what it's doing. That's a trapezius. Then from here you're going to have this red guy right here. This is going to be the Sternocleidomastoid, right? Because it starts at the sternum, connects to the clavicle, and ends at the mastoid process, which is that bony bump right below, behind and under your ear, right? So sternum, cleido, clavicle, mastoid. And there's usually a little bit of a gap here, and it starts and shoots up, and it does a little bit of a Y shape, right? And it goes up there, basically, right? Something like this. And you have your hyoid bone, which is more prominent with males. This is going to be your the Adam's apple, right? So that's fine. Next, that's going to be very important is wherever your clavicle ends up. Okay, the clavicle becomes this little area over here. It's kind of like a bony landmark because it's relatively flat. It's not actually square, but it's kind of close to it. It's very flat, and this is called the Acromion Process. This is a very, very important bony landmark because regardless of your body type, there's not going to be any muscle or fat pads in that area, so it's going to be the same. So if it's somebody, for example, that's super slim or super skinny, right, then it's going to actually be bumping up because there's not going to be a muscle mass. So it's going to be like a bump. You know, the muscles are going to be, you know, this is going to be very protruding and it's going to be very, very visible. If it's somebody with a lot of body fat, right, it's still going to dip down here before coming out. If it's somebody muscular like this guy, then the muscles are going to start around there, right, but they're not going to go over it. So it's going to be very important because you have your trapezius and you're going to have your deltoids, and you're always going to have a little bit of a dip over there. So it's very, very important bony landmark, okay? You have your deltoid muscles. Couple of things to remember about them. I'm just kind of refining what you kind of picked up on, right? So delts have 3 heads. There's the anterior head, which is anterior for front. There's the lateral or medial head, which is lateral side, medial middle. And then there's the posterior head, which is the one in the back. We don't really see it from this angle. Now, very important, the lateral or medial head actually has a little striation right here, the way it connects to the acromion process, but it actually connects to all 3 exterior sides of that acromion process, right? So yeah, he does this a little bit, but it goes all the way down here. That's one head, and overall the form you have is pretty accurate for the, and sometimes it does a little bit of something like this latticing because of the way it falls into itself and all that stuff. So that's one head of the deltoids. That's the lateral or medial head. Next you have the anterior head, which is the front one, and it actually starts about parallel to the lats right here on the other side of the clavicle, and it ends a little bit before, though it all ends, they're all shooting towards that same point, but it's a little bit shorter, but it does eventually end over there, right? So you're going to notice that form like that, okay? And this is going to be all part of the delts, and it just connects, inserts over here at the clavicle, right? And then you're going to have the back side, right? That's going to be the posterior head of the delts. Next, I want us to move to the pecs, which is the chest muscles. So a couple of interesting things happening. So the pecs have, depending on who you ask, 2 to 3 heads. Everybody agree on the clavicular head, right, which is this triangle right here on top, which goes, you know, from around here, and it inserts under the anterior head of the deltoids, right? So it's almost like it's another part of the deltoids in a way, right? But it goes all the way over there, but it's really part of the chest. But very, very important right here. See this area? I'm gonna pick a different color to mark it out. Red, because there's no red anywhere else in the scene. Let's do green. Okay, so there's a little bit of a gap in between them. That's called a well, it might have brought it actually a little bit too close. It would realistically would be somewhere over here, so let me correct that. Just because I don't have your your original reference with me, so I'm just kind of following along. But realistically, I would bet that that's going to be closer to like here. This is a trapezius from the back, and over here, parallel to it, is going to be, you know, this is going to be your right here, maybe. Oops. This is going to be your anterior head of the deltoid, right? And then you're going to have your fossa, right? So this is going to be your clavicular head of the pecs, and right here you have that little fossa. It's a little dipped, and you're going to notice that with people, especially with lower body fat. You're going to notice that very, very often. Right now, something else, the sternum, right? All this, which is the center bone of the rib cage. Yeah, it's actually broken up into two parts, and that top part is the manubrium, and usually, I guess in your case, maybe it'll be over here somewhere, right? And the interesting thing about it is that it creates this little kind of step, because it's a little bit of a step, right? It's a little bit of a step, right, on the bone. So it has this little gap, and it creates this striation separating the sternal or sternocostal head of the pecs, right? So it's not actually a striation that goes all the way, but it has a little bit of a bump there that separates it, okay? And again, and this is, I like to separate the sternal and the costal heads, right? So this would be the sternal head. All of this is going to be the sternal head, and it starts in the same kind of spot, right? And they kind of rotate and twist, and then you have your costal head, which aims towards the costal cartilage of the of your rib cage, right? And then you're gonna have some fat pads over here that define the chest, more so for females, obviously, but same anatomy, males, females. It's just the mammary glands for females is gonna create the breasts, and with males, it's just gonna be just body fat. Over here, you see this guy right here? This is gonna be the lat, visible from behind. And the lat is going to be the back wall of your armpit. So good job capturing that. Over here, these guys are going to be your serratus muscles, okay? And they're basically wrapping and protecting each rib of your top ribs, the true ribs, because the lower few ribs are just cartilage and not really bones. But the top 8 or 9, if I remember correctly, ribs are protected by the by this muscle, these muscle group, which is the serratus. And easier to remember serratus because they look like they create this serration as they connect to and insert into the oblique muscle, the external obliques, which is this guy. Serration is not super visible usually with them. I like to keep them kind of smooth, but they are there. Yeah, and obviously all muscles have not serration, but striation. All those little different fibers, right? Striation. And then you have your rectus abdominis muscle, which is not multiple muscles, but a single one. But the way the striation works, it's usually divided into groups, and that's different for every person. But it's just one muscle, rectus abdominis, going up and down. Right? That's good. Here you have your biceps, which are 2 muscles. And usually there's going to be a little bit of tendon here, and the biceps themselves are going to start. And there's usually you're going to find a striation in the middle for the long head, I believe, and I forget the name of the other one. Okay, but those are the biceps. All right, and then insert over there, and then one of them inserts in here, the other goes around. We'll probably see it better here. Over here, you're going to have your triceps, okay? And think about those as like a 9 with that little lazy tail, okay? And it goes back there. That's the tricep. You got that correct, okay? And over here you're gonna have your Brachialis, which is gonna go from the tip of the deltoid and just gonna insert in there along your biceps. Out of there comes out the Brachioradialis, nice big muscle, and it shoots towards the medial part of your wrist. And we have a bunch of good muscles over here. The extensors right on the top. Here you mentioned them right here. You have your extensors at the bottom, at the top, and flexors at the bottom, right? And they're really the muscles that are controlling your fingers and all that good stuff. And you're gonna have your elbow, which is well, it's not gonna be super visible, okay, but that's fine. Okay. And over here, so let's just kind of do yeah, so just want to kind of make sure we understand that you have your infraclavicular fossa. This one goes over here, right? And usually that ends a little bit before, and then all of these guys insert right here. Okay, and then you have your bicep coming in from under there. And whenever you look on muscle charts, you'll see the red, pink, or orange parts. Those are the actual fibers. Those are the ones that are flexible and they grow when you develop and all that stuff. And the white stuff is going to be more tendons, and they're a little bit more. They're more flexible than bone, but they don't really alter with you as you develop, right? So they don't become stronger or bigger. So. And over here you have your two. So one of them inserts over here for the biceps, right? And the one actually goes down there and dissolves, kind of wraps around and dissolves. And right here, you're gonna have your this guy right here is gonna be this is gonna be your funny bone, which is gonna be your medial epicondyle of the humerus, funny bone. Okay. And down here you're gonna have all your flexors. Over here on the top you're gonna have all your extensors, and you're gonna have, of course, your brachioradialis that's gonna be doing something like this, but always aiming towards that thumb side, right? Like this, and over here you're gonna have your brachialis. Okay. All right. Those are just the big muscle groups here. But yeah, so far so good. One very important muscle in the legs is you're gonna have your Sartorius, which goes from your shin, right, and goes all the way to the aces, which is your anterior superior iliac spine, for your pelvic bone. It's just going to be that point where the iliac spine kind of drops, right? And this is a very, very important point because the quads extend out from it, right? Quads extend out from it. The Sartorius, which is like a rubber band that keeps everything almost in place, dips in, right? So it's going to be doing something like this, and it aims all the way up there, right here to this aces point, right? This is a very important landmark because usually you're going to see with human legs, you're going to see this kind of form, right? And that dip is always created by the Sartorius, okay? And over here you have your adductor group. We'll talk about them. We got your gracilis and all of them. But most importantly, I want you to notice the vastus medialis, which is going to be this teardrop shaped guy right here. Your vastus lateralis, right? It's going to be on the other side of it, along with the iliotibial tract, keeping it in place. You're going to have your tensor fascia latae going over there to your greater trochanter, which is a part of your femur. It's just that bump on the femur as where the femur turns down, because it comes out of your pelvic bone. It comes out of your pelvic bone at an angle, and there's a bump, and then it goes down, right? So that's your greater trochanter, and that's the widest point of your hips. That's basically the tensor fascia latae and your gluteus minimus, which is just this guy right here, just the muscle between the butt and the front, right? Just on the side of your body, where gluteus maximus, right, is it's the butt muscles. And yeah, and over here, so right here we have our vastus medialis, right? Medialis as a middle, vastus lateralis, lateralis as a lateral side, right? And up above we have our rectus femoris, right? Rectus as in, erect, going up and down, and femoris as in femur, right? And that's going to be this guy. So over here, vastus medialis is going to be teardrop, and then you're going to have some tendons and whatnot. You're going to have your patella in here and your other bone goodness over here. And then this is going to be your rectus femoris going up there. And then again, adductors over here. This is your tibia. And this is your soleus a little bit. And you can see a little bit of your gastrocnemius, which is that big chunky one in the back of the lower leg. So yeah, hopefully that helps. There's just a little bit of the big muscle groups that we can cover, and I can even post this for your reference in our Discord. There you go. All right, what else did I want to take a look at? We'll do one more because you did another nice anatomy pass. I want to take a look at that one and we'll call it. Okay. Just do this one and we'll call it. Okay. So here we're looking at some of the back muscles over here. So, again, overall good observation and good guesses. I like that you're sticking to what you know with this. So you see this right here? Let me do green. Most visible right here. We'll do this real quick. There we gotta go. Over here, that's gonna be your. It's hard to tell where it is over here. It's probably that one. That's gonna be your Acromion Process. Very, very important landmark. And it's very, very important to find those landmarks in the back, because once you know where all the obvious ones are and you study what connects to what, it's very easy to kind of reverse engineer and kind of do the detective work to figure out where all the other muscles are. You see this hook right here and right here, okay? Those are the kind of the wings of the scapula, the spine of the scapula. So you go straight down to this point, you find the edge of the scapula, and that tells you where the teres major is. Very important muscle, teres major right here. And you see this big form, okay, that's the lats, latissimus dorsi, i.e. meat corset as we like to call them, right? So from that hook, right here, and from that hook, that hook for the scapula, it's like the back portion of the clavicles, right? So that goes and connects all the way to the Acromion Process, and that tells you a couple of very important things right here. All of this is your deltoid, right? So you have your lateral head, you have your anterior head, and you have your posterior head, which is really more like it goes all the way over here, but the bumpy part is like a teardrop shape and the rest is kind of flat. So, and there it is right here, same deal, okay? And you have your triceps. This is a nice nice bendy arm, I like this. But here's your triceps right here, okay? Then you're gonna have your brachialis right here, your bicep, and you have your brachioradialis right here, okay? And here you have, and the other side of this, right? This is all of this. You can have your little flat head with a little bump there. That's gonna be that seventh cervical vertebra of the spine. And the rest of this right here, this is literally gonna be your your trapezius muscle, right? So the traps, the one they go around, remember? They go around the front and they go up the neck all the way to the occipital bone, which is that bump in the back of your neck where your spine connects to your skull, right? So all this is traps, and it's gonna be the ones that are gonna visible. And we even see abs over here, and we see obliques, right? Obliques right here. Yeah, that's what I got for you. And, I'll post this for your reference. There you go. And with this, we will call it. Hopefully, the audio recorded and it's not all gone and lost forever. If it is, tough. But yeah, I hope that helps. And for anybody else watching, hopefully you learned something about anatomy. And till next time, be well. Peace.